And 2024 was filled with unexpected developments, perhaps none more so than Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign for the White House. Now, a new photographic biography is recounting Harris's most recent presidential bid, along with the rest of the vice president's life. The book is titled Kamala, Her Historic, Joyful, and Auspicious Sprint to the White House. And the book's co-authors join us now, Kevin Merida and Deborah Willis. Thank you both for being here this morning. Deborah, let's start with you. You're a photo historian, photographer, professor, and chair of the New York University's Tisch School of the Arts. What led you to this? What's the inspiration for this book?
Well, good morning, and thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. The inspiration was the story. It was an important story to follow through my interest in photography, as well as to tell a photobiographical moment of the vice president who had the desire to run for office. And to begin this story, we were invited to, both Kevin and I were invited to collaborate on how to move this forward. And we began by looking at historical photographs as well as contemporary photographs, and then the history of her work in California to Washington, D.C. So my interest, I was really interested in looking for ways to tell the story through community and through that expression.
So, Kevin Merida, you're a contributing essayist to the Washington Post and a former executive editor of the Los Angeles Times. Obviously, Kamala Harris, a familiar subject to those on the West Coast. Talk to us about some of the themes that you're presenting in this book.
Well, I think the beautiful thing about photography is that photographers are background players. You know, they can capture moments and they're able to capture dispositions and personas and moods, you know. And one of the things we just tried to study the complexity of her through photography. You know, there's shots, everything from capturing her with President Biden in a very private moment after he has decided to leave the race at the White House, everything from that to just the way she takes selfies and, you know, what I would call her selfie game. You know, that's become, of course, part of the digital culture. But to show her in how she takes selfies, how she shakes, how she hugs, the way in which she waves, the different kind of moods in her face, whether she's grilling someone on a Senate hearing or speaking to a little kid and bending down. So you try to put all that together to really capture both a historic campaign, but also the rise of someone who was able to make that history.
Deborah, as you being yourself really a renowned photo historian, one of the things that struck me in the years I've known the vice president is that she represented a new kind of move or movement, but she was very loyal to the historic tradition she came from. I was youth director Shirley Chisholm when I was 17 years old. She always wanted to talk about Shirley. She brought me in a private office at the White House and showed she had a picture of a portrait of Thurgood Marshall over her desk and how she felt Thurgood looked over her. And leaping through this book that you and have put together with Kevin, you give us a balance of that, her being connected, but at the same time a new innovation. Talk about that as one who has mastered what you do in terms of photo history.
It was really important for us, for me, as well as for us as readers, to look at this history and to walk through with photographers and to curate this and to connect through the historical images to see what the vice president wanted to experience in her rise, in her encounters. I was fascinated to see a photograph of Shirley Chisholm, a painting of Shirley Chisholm as the vice president walked past. I was fascinated also with the way that the photographers were able to capture moments, quiet moments, respectful moments. But I wanted to also reflect on that exchange that the vice president offered the community, that touch, that sense of community that she felt broaden her campaign, her ideas, and her career. We also have photographs when she was the district attorney, the swearing in ceremonies. It was important for us to find these images. And when I located some of them, I found experience of joy throughout. There was a connection to joy throughout all of the images that we experienced. Her mother proudly standing and witnessing important moments of her life.
Kevin, many people may feel they've seen a lot of Kamala Harris this year. Was there something that surprised you, that you felt was new in what you found putting this book together?
Well, I was struck by just how often, just the way she would hug on the campaign trail. I know that joy became a campaign theme. Sometimes you can, became a course of political football and people will mock it, but we all love joy, right? Like, I think everyone finds the joy in their own lives. That's not really political. It's kind of a universal feeling. And so you're looking for ways that manifests itself, and the connection that you can make with others. The other thing was just the muralist and others who created art around her, and including Deborah's son, Hank Willis Thomas, but also the billboard that Carrie Mae Weems did. There were lots of representations of her by other artists, and that was an interesting thing, the way others saw her. And so I think it was, when you kind of put it all together in totality, I have to just kind of, bow down to the visual artist. I think that form is such an important form, and it really sometimes shows us things that words don't.
The new photographic biography, Kamala, her historic, joyful, and auspicious sprint to the White House, is on sale now. The book's co-authors, contributing essayist to the Washington Post and former executive editor of the Los Angeles Times, Kevin Merida, and photo historian, photographer, and professor and chair of New York University's Tisch School of the Arts, Deborah Willis. Our thanks to you both.